And is that weird? This bloody mic got a new mic and it's not flipping working, and it's a joke. It's absolutely a joke. Right, shall we start again, shall we? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sport. And yeah, the SAA side has just been announced. Quite a few interesting selections that have been made, quite a few interesting stories to talk about. And it's a good SAA side. I actually quite like it. And 6-2 split on the bench, for example, so it's very much a Springbok mold sort of SAA side. And yeah, a couple of big decisions, because something like Joseph Dwyer, for example, doesn't find himself in the 23. Hershey Yankee doesn't find himself in the 23. And are we now looking at both these players going, they are now further than ever away from Springboks, for example? I don't think Joseph Dwyer was terrible last week, to be perfectly honest. So, I don't think that put it this way, I don't think his performance last week put him further away than the Springboks. However, Hershey Yankees, for example, I think has sort of played himself out of, I wouldn't say out of contention, but just not really on the radar right now for Springboks, for example. So, yeah, very interesting. And also a very big moment because Sasha Ngomazulu will play his first ever match at fly half at this level. He has never played at fly half at senior rugby level. Fun fact, by the way. So he does start at fly half, and we're gonna put the team on the screen in a moment, stuff like that. And we're gonna talk about it quite a lot. But a lot of players, for example, have been rewarded for their shifts they put in last week, which I like to see. It is very much a side that'll hopefully sort of demonstrate a bit of depth and stuff. So hopefully we will see a couple of players really sort of put their hand up. Marco van Staden, for example, back into the side. We didn't even know it's a bit like last week where we didn't even know that the Preas had been called up. As far as we were concerned, Marco van Staden wasn't available through injury, and now is back in the setup and starting. So it's all very strange. But what can you do? So I'm going to put a poll up, and we're going to ask the simple question is, what do we think? Are you happy? And I suppose I should put the team up for... There it is. That's the team. Now I can ask, are you happy with the SA 23? Yes, no. It's simple question. Simple question. Yes or no? Let me know. So, yeah, go and get voting. And then we'll discuss it, shall we? So, the sound is gone. No, about to say it's back. You just early to it. Yeah, there was a couple of issues earlier on, but now, the sound is fine. Got this new mic, which is supposedly all supposed to be fantastic, and it's been giving me issues the last couple of days. So, getting a bit frustrated about that, must admit. But I think it's a very nice SAA side, and I think what for me is so exciting about it is the fact that I think it's a nice blend of youth and experience. For example, you look at that loose trio, and Albert Lowe is still a young player, but coming through and very much getting into a sort of a Springbok career going. Next to, Marco van Staden, who's got a lot of experience, next to Jean-Luc Dupree, who, whilst doesn't have plenty of international games, does have international experience. So, for example, I think that's a nice... sort of position for him to be in. I do think it's a very exciting halfback pairing. For example, I think Sasha Ngomazulu and Grant Williams as a halfback pairing is very cool, and I'm very keen to see how they go. Also keen to see how Johnny Lombard goes fullback. We've seen him mostly at Flyer for the Lions, but I think he's a very interesting player from a block perspective because if he can get going, and we should be back. I mean, it's just an absolute disaster. The mic's not working. Then there's load shedding. We can't have nice things, can we? We can't have nice things. But we'll continue to move on, and we'll continue to forge our way forward and try and get through the stream because it is a lot to talk about. And it's a Monday afternoon. We've also got Springbok press conference will be up in the next hour or two. They're very much aiming to beat Italy. Of course, they're aiming to beat Italy, but I think very much have a point to prove now, especially so. Yeah, I do think they're under a little bit of pressure, and hopefully we will see them really respond this week because they've got to respond at the end of the day. Because if they don't, there will be riots. There will be riots in the country if this box side does not go out this weekend. And I don't even think it's a case of beating Italy. I think they expect it to actually go and do the business. So I think the box are under quite a lot of pressure. But yeah, we're not here to talk about the box. We have to talk about the SAA side versus Bristol Bears. It is at Ashton Gate this week. Quite a cool place to play. So I think that'll be adding a nice little part to the game itself. But what are we saying, people? What are we saying? So Sean saying, happy to see Grant Williams get a start. Albatross just says halfbacks and loose chairs a massive improvement. Genuine 6 of Pepsi would have still preferred Fiber though. What is the time of the game? It is the top as 9, same as last week. Sean saying Yankees has fallen off the radar for me. Hasn't been on form for a while now. The box better in South Africa. Yep. What best ground South Africa? Yeah. So looks like Gerson has dropped down the pecking order. It's an okay team. Louis says this is what Andre You're need next year. You'll be in the Rugby Championship squad. I mean, I don't think you will. I think that Jan Krobbeler might have something to say about that. But we never know. You do never know. What else is everybody saying about this? First of all, the polls looking a bit dicey, actually. Quite a lot of people not happy. And also, if you're sitting there saying you're not happy with it, who would you have liked to have seen it? And you can't start naming people who aren't in the squad. Okay, it's too late for that. We're not here to debate the squad. Who would you have liked to see that are available in this side? You know, like let's. I can't. You know, we're not here to sit there saying this guy should have been on the squad. This guy should have been in the squad. This guy should have been in the squad because we can debate that until the cows come home. There is a squad. This is the side they've picked. Are we happy? Yes or no? That's the question. That's what I'm trying to get out of you guys. And what am I trying to do? I'm trying to take the blooming load shedding schedule to see if we're going to be affected because now apparently load shedding stage 3 is coming in. But hopefully it won't be too badly affected. Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. John Ray says that it's an okay team, not good enough to be Bristol Bears, but what can you do? Well, John Ray, as always, I really love the optimism. I don't think you've ever backed any of these sides to ever beat anybody. But let's see what happens there. Christian said, I'd rather see Adolf van der Merwe at 14 than that. I'm happy maybe Harold Forster at 12. Mr. Over say exciting team on paper, but a big step up needed after last week's performance. Very happy about the scrum off, says Ivan. Otherwise, I'm happy there was a consistency, but also places where needed. Dweber did improve his lineups, but didn't offer much else, I thought. Saying didn't have big carries, didn't seem to have a big work rate on the field. We didn't get an opportunity to carry. I think he made 1 carry. I don't understand that. I mean, it's like his biggest asset. Why are we not giving him the ball? Christian say, but they brought in the players who aren't in the squad already. Look, to be fair, Malcolm Verstappen was always part of the squad. He obviously had injury issues, and I think the Depreers were drafted in, like, geographically. They were just, I mean, you've got to bring in somebody on Monday, for example. We actually need to bring 2 players, and you've got 2 players who are situated in England, and they're potentially available and have been part of the setup. So, yeah, I understand we can talk about other players, but I mean, unless there are injuries, nobody's coming in. You know, no one's getting dropped, for example, out of the squad from a performance point of view. So it's only if there are injuries are there then spaces for players to come in. But I don't think we're going to see anybody coming. Well, we're not going to see anybody come in. But yeah, Jan Hendrik Wessels is injured. He actually pulled out of the squad, didn't actually travel at all. Does this mean that Evan plays against Italy? Well, we wait to see tomorrow, won't we? This time tomorrow, the Springbok squad will be named, so we'll be able to find out if Evan Lewis is part of it. Steve Khan saying, all the French players I would have had in the side are most likely going to be in the 23 for the box weekend, so no real complaints. Well, we wait and see. Those French players being the likes of an Andre Esterhazy, a Salman Murat, an Evan Lewis, for example, sort of players who are there but not really playing. Who else is there? Trevor Nyakane, for example. Who else? They've got their 3 scrum halves there. Interesting to see if Jaden Henderson comes back this weekend. I think that's pretty much it, you know. Contender saying I would have tried Hendricks at 14, Gomzula at 12, Hurston at 15, Lombard at 10, have Hartzenberg off the bench. Shano says Bristol team already out because their team make me extremely scared for SAA. No, their team will probably be out on tomorrow, I'd imagine. But yeah. So let's go through the team, shall we? I think that's probably the best thing to do. We're now basically 15 minutes into the stream, and we haven't really gone through and really gone and looked at who is what the big decisions are and where we can expect big performances. And the reason I say I think it's a very nicely rounded team is I think that the front row is good. I'm happy to see Insuka Kunu getting another opportunity there. Obviously, Thomas Toy is there for the experience, is captaining the side as well. I like Andre Hugo Penta. I think he's a nice player. I don't think he'll be in the box next year. I think Johan Krabelar's ahead of him anyway. And I think Dion Ferry is now sort of as an option at hooker that I think gives the box a lot of flexibility because I think they'll be able to take two hookers to the World Cup as well as Dion Ferry, which, given the fact that I think you'll have to take two extra players to the World Cup, if you can then take a utility forward who covers hooker and flank, you then can look at adding another player somewhere else. Jason Jenkins, Ruan okay, the lock combination, no issues there. They are the only two really sort of out-and-out locks in the squad. So we did wonder if you might see Salman Murat and Marvin Ori drop down. I don't think we'll see that given the fact that PSF's Toy is now going to be banned. Lud Dialga has picked up an injury, so for example, you could see Marvin Ori starting this weekend with Franco Mostyn on at 7, which means you'll probably see Salman Murat on the bench, or else you might even see one or two of them start. The loose trio, Mark Mustard, Albert Lowe, Jean-Luc Dupré. I think it's a very balanced loose trio. Still interesting that Jean-Luc Dupré is named at 8 ahead of Dan, who does traditionally play 8 more. But yeah, I think busy watching the there's an SA20 like launch, and looks like lots of things are happening over there, which is very interesting. Anyway, but so it's a nice loose trio. I think it's well balanced. I think you've got the physicality of Albert Lowe, Jean-Luc Dupré. I think you've got, I mean, not that Marco Verstappen isn't physical, but, you know, I think there's a very physical loose trio. And then you've got a Fetcher, an out-and-out Fetcher in Marco Verstappen, who is going to be able to really get you some turnovers, give you a lot of work at the breakdown. We've got Grant Williams, Victor Sasha, Fabian Ngoma-Zulu. Fabian Ngoma-Zulu is a very young and prodigious talent. He is. Hasn't played 10 yet. So very keen to see how he does go at 10, which should be very interesting. And I'm hoping that we're hoping he has a good game. You know, I think that people need to sort of taper expectations a little bit. He is a young player, still sort of getting to grips with this level. So, you know, I do think that we do need to understand that he's coming that, but he has looked very comfortable at almost every single level. And hopefully this will just be the next sort of step up. Yeah, and if you can, then it gets very exciting. I do think we need to let him develop, and I do think we need to let him make mistakes. You know, I think we need to let him be who he is and develop as he does, and not put too much pressure on him. But hopefully it is. Hopefully have a good game. And Grant Williams was very good off the bench, so I'm glad to see that he is rewarded for his form. You've then got Leon Zasserman, Hotzenberg, and Johnny Lombard as your back three. Very keen to see how Lombard goes at 15. I do think that we might see him slotted first receiver. I think he's got a very nice boot on him, for example. I think Fabian Ngoma-Zulu will be the goal kicker, but you've got a good option there in Johnny Lombard as well. He's got a very long boot as well. You know, 50-meter penalties are definitely on the cards, whilst you've got Johnny Lombard on the park. Apart from that, Corey Hendricks, Hickman, and Bake, hopefully we'll see a bit more chemistry between the two of them. Now they've had a week of preparation, we didn't see too much of that. I thought Corey Hendricks carried it pretty well, but yeah, I thought that Hinkman Bake struggled to get into the game a little bit last week. And then off the bench, Jaja Kotza. I like Jaja Kotza. I think he's a very talented hooker. I think he needs to look for a move away, because I think that Andre Hugo Fenter, who they're seeing as a big talent, has kind of got the run-in on Jaja Kotza, who I think has actually put a lot more hard yards. I think I've actually been more impressed with some of the Jaja Kotza performances than I have necessarily with Andre Hugo Fenter, which is a big statement. But I do think he's gone under the radar and he's been quite underappreciated. I thought he stepped up a lot during the URC late stages last season. Sapiro Mantazia and Mornay Smith, you know, the two Bulls players, very comfortable there. Dan Dupré, Sigurboz Noche, Pepsi Buthelezi. It's a proper loose trio that can come on. Dan Dupré and Jean-Luc obviously also covering lock. And then Nahamba Jan Hussen. So I don't think you can really have too many complaints about this side, despite the fact that only 75% of people have said that they do like the side. I don't think we can really have too many complaints. I think it's a pretty straightforward side. I think it's pretty obvious in many ways, I suppose. You know, there's not too many other options they could have gone with. But they could have. I like the way they've lined it up, because whilst this 23 was pretty set, the way that it could have been lined up and bit of tweaks could have been different. And I like this balance, You could have continued to hand Goosen, or you could have said, listen, Goosen didn't go that well at 10, let's put him at 15. So I like the fact that they've gone with Lombard at 15. I like the fact that they've gone and back Fame and Ngomazulu at 10. You could have gone Fame and Ngomazulu at 10. Lombard at 10, Fame and Ngomazulu at 12, Goosen at 15, for example. But they really have backed the youngsters here. That backline, with the exception of Cornel Hendricks, are all. I think Leon Zas, is about 20. How old is Leon Zas? He's probably one of the older ones, 27 years old. But the rest of the backline. So apart from Leon Zas and Cornel Hendricks, the rest of the backline's under the age of 25. You've got 3 players there who played under 20 in the last year. You've got and then Johnny Lombard, and Grant Williams, who are about 22, 23 years old. So it's a very young backline. And if you look at the pack, for example, not the youngest pack. Albert Lowe still pretty young. Jean-Luc Dupre, Malcolm and Starden, in sort of what hopefully should be the peak of their powers. The front, Thomas Torre next to 2 very young props. So it's a very good mix of youth and experience. And we sort of wait to see if they're going to really be able to sort of come good. But again, we need to decide, what do we want out of this match on Saturday, on Thursday rather? Are we looking for a result? Are we looking to just go out and win? Or do we want to... are we just looking for a better performance? Are we just looking for this team to really click and just to show us that they can play at this level? Or are we very results-based? And do we just need to win? And I personally am also leaning towards, I want to see a performance. I want to see players who can step up. I want to see players who are going to back themselves. I want to see players who are going to think that they can do a job. And that's what I'm in for on Thursday. And I hopefully that... And again, we need to win. We want to win. But if we do lose, there's got to be a good performance. If we put in a proper good performance, and Bristol, who are a side that just play a lot more consistently together, and they come good, I can get over that. But it's when we lose and we've had bad performance and certain players haven't stepped up that you sit there thinking, this has been a bit of a waste. We haven't really... Not waste, but we haven't really... we haven't really used the opportunity to the best of our abilities. But as long as I'm seeing players step up, Johnny Lombard goes and shows that he's a genuine option in the box squad, for example, and I'm happy with that. And, certain players go and put their hands up. Malcolm Verstappen goes and said, I should be in the box squad. I like that. That's what I want to see. We want to see players putting their hands up and proving that they're ready for the next level. That, for me, is what the point of an SAA side is. Not to win games, for players to prove that they're ready for the actual side, which is the Springboks. And that's what we want to see on Thursday. Go to some of the comments here. Christian say probably Kwak at 7, Lewis at 8. Louis say I would like to see Dan Pierce start instead of Alwick, and Alwick start at the box. Christian saying it would be nice to see Alwick with the box. I reckon he's another game at this level. Zara saying I hope Henke can get some ball this game. Yeah, 100%. Christian says I could accept the loss if we play a good game and not due to poor calls. Let's not go down the referee road. There's far too much going about that, and we can't control it. We can't say much about it. We don't even know I don't even know who the ref is actually for this. So we will have, in terms of press conferences, we will have the Springbok press conference up in the next about 20 minutes or so, and we will also have the SAA press conference up later on this afternoon. In terms of other content, we do have a team of the week out, for example, so you guys can go and check that out. That is on the channel, and then we'll have pretty cool, by the way, for golf fans. We're recording a pretty cool golf podcast tonight, which will be out tomorrow. Tomorrow will be live for the Springbok team announcement, so you can come and join us then as well. Lots of very cool content coming your way this week as we prepare for another big week in the sort of World Cup preparations and for the and for next year, really. Unfortunately, I said lots to do, so a lot of content coming your way. So we are going to wrap the stream up a little bit early. But thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll see you guys all soon. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, for a Springbok team announcement.